and welcome to this EFT practice around self-connection, particularly around self-connection and what brings us a sense of peace. And we often find ourselves living in a place of disconnection from our inner peace when it feels safer to keep holding on to the things that pull us away from it. Overworking, shutting people out, saying yes and then resenting it or resenting someone else. And to live in a way that feels rooted and feels like we are in direct dialogue with ourselves and what brings us uniquely that peace, what directly and uniquely brings us that sense of safety. Now, I know full well that when you've been running headfirst through life for so long, but suddenly being able to let go, feel free from things, lay boundaries, simply pause. This is a lot of disrupting your inner status quo when you've been running headfirst through life and holding yourself at arm's length for so long. And this EFT practice today offers a gentle way to lean in, get curious, and gently begin releasing the charges and the programs held in our body around this. And over time, begin to start to write new ones. A soulful, embodied, rooted human woman learns what's hers to hold and what isn't. And resourcing is a priority so that we can feel when we're gripping on and where we begin holding ourselves at arm's length in order to keep surviving, keep striving for the things that don't serve us. So EFT isn't about fixing anything or pushing it away. It's about expanding our capacity to hold challenges instead of contract around them and be able to meet those challenges without wrapping them with meaning and shame and guilt around them, and begin changing our response and relationship to it. So let's begin by just grounding our feet. And if you have shoes off, maybe having a bit of a scrunch and a wiggle of your feet. If you're able to take your shoes off and it's not too chilly to do so, then I'd welcome that. But if you want to keep your shoes on, that's cool. Either way, just really gently press your feet down into the floor a few times. Have a wiggle, a stretch and a yawn in your chair. And once you feel like you can settle, just for these next few minutes together, let's start by taking a breath in. Almost sense like you're filling up like a fresh glass of water right to the top. Take a little pause, and then as you exhale, just right to the end. And taking a few more breaths just like this, breathing in. And letting it go. And let's take two more, just like that. And if a yawn comes, just know that's a sign that your nervous system is going, oh, it's safe to feel tired here. It's safe to move into that more rest and digest state. And these next few exhales, stay with that rich in-breath. But as you exhale now, just exhaling right to the end. And you can do this with eyes open or eyes closed. If you keep your eyes open, keeping your eyes away from the screen as much as possible during the practice. Let your focus soften. I'm going to run through the tapping points in a moment, so you might need to look towards the screen, but then you can soften away from it. And let every exhale guide you a little further down into the body, down into where your feet meet the floor, your body meets the chair, whatever you're sitting on, resting on. And every time you land a little more into the body, just noticing what's here. What sensation you're noticing in the body, if there's emotion here, if there's tension here, all of that is physical first and foremost. So noticing how they present in your body, how your body is responding. How do you know that you're feeling stressed or sad or happy? Because they will have a unique stamp, a unique expression. And you can rest your hands wherever you want to for a moment, maybe on your heart or just in the lap. And as you land right into the body at the end of this next exhale, bringing this question to mind: what pulls me away from the connection to myself? What pulls me away ultimately from my peace? What pulls me away from that direct and respectful connection to myself? Because this is also what will pull you away from your peace, your unique expression of peace. And allowing those answers to arise, whether that's through image or sensation or words. And now I invite you to bring to the forefront a most recent time that you felt pulled away. Perhaps pulled away into ruminating around the past, worrying about the future, or worry in general. Perhaps it was someone or something that pulled you away from being able to hear your own needs and wants, but pulled you away perhaps you could hear them, but you didn't feel that you could meet them. And so let the first thing that comes up be the right one to work with today. And noticing the charge that that still holds in the body. So as you bring that worry, bring that situation back to mind, notice what that charge is, where it is, how it is in the body. Because this will be the stamp that's been left. So just take a few moments just to tune into what that is, what that charge is. And you might name it. Perhaps it has a texture, a color, a movement, a weight, or a temperature to it. Name where it is in the body. And it might be something from today, last week. Welcome that memory in and notice how your body's responding, what emotions arise with it, and how those emotions land in your body right now. And perhaps even a color or a shape might come to mind here. And still wrapping all of what's arising with total curiosity, noticing if that situation has created a story or a meaning about you. Or created a prediction for the unknown ahead. So, what's the meaning that has been placed on this experience? A meaning about you, a prediction, an assumption of what's to come. And there's no need to analyze, fix, or make meaning of that response because it's an honest one for you right now. And now check in and rate the intensity of that response, that charge in your body out of 10. 10 being the most intense, 0 being not at all. And just notice the number. That this charge is let's say a 6 out of 10 or a 7 out of 10 in the body. And I'm just going to now remind you of the tapping points that we're going to use today as we do. So we're going to be starting with the karate chop point here. And we'll work with some opening phrases, and I'll keep on prompting you to move on to the next tapping point. So don't worry, you don't have to remember all this. And it's a real light touch, ideally using the fingertips as much as possible. And then coming onto the crown of the head, and it's not directly at the center of your crown. Our crown is actually a little bit further forward. And then we'll be moving to the inner eyebrow, the top of the eyebrow, the side of the eye where the socket runs, under the eye on the eye socket there, and gentle because this can be a little sensitive for some people. And then under the nose where your 2 front teeth meet the gum, and on the chin where your 2 front bottom teeth meet the gum. And then just below the collarbone, there's a little indentation here. That's where we are. And then the side of the body where your bra strap runs. And you can use the whole palm of the hand if you prefer. And then we'll go across the wrist. And then each of the fingers. So you can do just the inner finger. I like to do it this way with tap on both sides. And so it's on either side of the nail. And then we'll work through it again. So I'm going to prompt some broad phrases here throughout this practice to give space for you to fill these in with your own words. So I might use words like situation, challenge, or trigger. And for you, that might be my boss patronizing me, this worry about my presentation, the worry about my daughter starting school, whatever it might be. And I'll also use words like this emotion. And for you, you might, instead of using that broad term, I invite you to actually go a bit more specific. So it might be anxiety, feeling let down, feeling angry, feeling sad. So let's begin. Let's start with that karate chop point. And repeat after me. Even though this situation, and fill in your own words here, is making me feel, and put your emotions and the sensation that you've noticed in the body here. I accept and respect myself, even with this. And let's repeat that again. Even though this situation, put in your own words, is bringing this challenging response in my body. You might want to add a bit more detail here. I'm choosing now to support and care for myself. Right here, right now. And stay steady with your breath. Let's take one more opening phrase at this karate chop point. Even though this experience, fill in your gap, pulled me away from myself. And this has brought up, fill in your emotions here and sensations here in my body. I choose to meet myself with curiosity and kindness now. I'm just inviting a longer breath in and a longer breath out through the mouth. Let's start at the karate chop point. This emotion, in your own words. In the inner eyebrow. This emotion, in your own words. And this sensation in my body that it's bringing about. Top of the eyebrow. This emotion, in your own words. and the side of the eye. This sensation in the body, in your own words, and under the eye. This is an honest human response to my situation. Under the nose. This is an honest human response to this challenge, and put this challenge in your own words. And on the chin, in your own words, this emotion. In the collarbone, this sensation, in your own words, in my body. In the side of the body. I accept that it's here, and I'm meeting myself with care and curiosity now. And across the wrist, this emotion, in your own words, that's alive in my body. And then to the fingers, this sensation, in your own words, it's communicating to me. Work through the fingers, a few taps on each finger, and then the crown of the head. I know that it was triggered by this situation, put in your own words. Now the inner eyebrow. Now, in your own words, state what thoughts, worries it made you feel, think, say, do. In your own words, what thoughts, worries did it make you feel, think, say, and do? And above the eyebrow. It made me think, feel, say this way. Use your own words here. And the side of the eye. Because it pulled me away from myself. It pulled me away from my center and under the eye. It pulled me away from my own steadiness and calm. And under the nose. This was my honest human response to this situation in that moment. And the chin. This honest human response to this, in your own words, this situation, this challenge. And the collarbone. And I now choose to meet myself with acceptance and kindness. The side of the body. It is safe for me to meet myself with this curiosity and care now. And across the wrist. Even when this situation brought all this up, and begin tapping through each of the fingers, all this emotion in your own words. And the crown of the head. All this sensation in my body. Now describe it in your own words. And the inner eyebrow. I choose to breathe deep now with this honest response to that situation in your own words. And above the eyebrow. I choose to give myself this space now to soften around it into the outer eye. I choose to give myself this space to be kind to myself around it and under the eye. I choose to give myself this time and this care to forgive myself around how it made me feel and how it made me react. And under the nose. I choose to give myself this time and care to accept how it made me feel and how it made me react. And the chin. Because this is not mine to hold on to anymore. And the collarbone. If I hold on to it, I will keep on holding myself at arm's length in the side of the body. And I don't want to do that anymore. and the crown of the head. I choose to let this go in my body, in my heart, in my mind, in my nervous system, and in my breath. Take a big breath here. And once more, I choose to let this go in my body, in my heart, in my mind, in my nervous system, and in my breath. You can take another big breath here. Let's just do that once more for good measure. I choose to let this go in my body, in my heart, in my mind, in my nervous system, and in my breath. And take another big breath here and gradually slow down that tapping speed. And then as it slows to a halt, just placing the hand across the forehead and take the other hand just to nestle at the base of the skull and then back of the neck. And take a few breaths, just containing, just holding, just noticing. And then when you feel ready, very slowly release that hold. Take a moment to notice how you're doing, how you're feeling here. Perhaps take a few closing breaths. And notice how you're feeling now. So at the start of that practice, we rated it out of 10. And how would you rate that now? Now, if you're anything over a 4, I would say rewind this and do it again and see where it takes you then. But as you can see, there's so much scope to use this against any situation because you have so much freedom to make this your own and relevant to your situation and your response. So I would love you to let me know how that practice landed for you. As you know, the Soulful Rooted Woman, my free 3-day course starts on the 11th of May, running to the 13th of May. And it is exploring all about how we bring that connection back to ourselves and really start to resource ourselves and access these wells of steadiness, safety, knowing. It will come from a nervous system perspective, from a trauma-informed perspective, from an energetic perspective. It's going to be a really rich 3 days. And anyone who attends will also be in the running to get some giveaways, some free one-to-ones with me, and some mega bonuses if you choose to deepen this practice with me and join the Homecoming program starting on the 22nd of May. If you have any questions regarding either of those offerings, you know where I am. In the newsletter, I will put links to both of those so you can have a read, see if that would be something that would support you right now. But for now, have a wonderful rest of your day, and I can't wait to practice with you again. Lots of love.